A lot of driven people achieve. They build, they grow, they work hard, they stay disciplined, they climb fast, and then one day they look up and realize that the ladder that they have been climbing this whole entire time is actually leaning up against the wrong building. That is what I want to talk about in this video today, because the danger for a lot of ambitious people is not failure. It is spending years succeeding at something that is taking them somewhere they never actually wanted to go. If you are someone who knows how to execute, this can happen very quietly. You get busy, then more busy. You take on more responsibility. You say yes to more opportunities. You keep solving from what is in front of you. You build momentum. From the outside, it can actually look like progress. And maybe honestly, some of it is. But if you ever stop to ask where all this is leading, your work ethic will absolutely take you somewhere. You just might not like where it lands. I think a lot of people feel this more than they say it out loud. They are doing well, they are producing, they are moving, but underneath all of it, there is this question sitting there. Where is this actually taking me? And if I keep doing exactly what I am doing right now, what does my life look like in 10 years? That is the question that matters. My name is Stephen Wieringa. I am a husband, a dad, an entrepreneur, and a business owner here in Michigan. I have built businesses, grown businesses, sold businesses, and I am very much in the middle of building even today. One of the biggest lessons that I have learned is that effort by itself does not guarantee alignment. You can be disciplined and still drift. You can be productive and still just kind of feel off. That tension does not usually show up all at once. It shows up slowly in the calendar that stays full, in the goals that got set by default, in the habits you never really questioned, in the opportunities you kept saying yes to, in the pace you got used to, in the way your life starts getting built 1 week at a time without much space to step back and ask whether the path is still right. That is the trap. You can get so good at execution that you stop evaluating the direction, and time keeps moving no matter what. That is what gives this so much weight. Time compounds whether you are intentional or not. Your habits compound, your decisions compound, your priorities compound. The small things you do over and over and over shape who you end up being in the end. Now that could work for you, but it can also work against you. If your life is pointed in the wrong direction, time does not fix that. It only strengthens it. That is why I believe you have to start with the end. Not because you need every detail figured out, but because you need a destination. You have to know what you are trying to build, not just in business, but actually in life. What do you want your marriage to look like? What kind of dad do you want to be? What kind of health do you want to have? What do you want your relationship with money to look like? How much freedom do you want over your time? What role do you want work to play in your life? Now, these are the questions that shape everything. When you want to avoid them, urgency fills the gaps. And urgency is a terrible architect for a meaningful life. Urgency keeps you moving. It does not always keep you aligned. That is why I think 10-year thinking matters so much. You have to lift your eyes up from today. You have to create enough space to ask bigger questions. What do I want my life to look like in 10 years? What is different? What is stronger? What has to be removed? Maybe what has to be added? What do I want to be true about my work, my family, my health, my finances, my time? That kind of thinking has helped me a lot. Not because it gave me the perfect plan, because it gave me clarity. And clarity changes daily decisions. It changes what you say yes to. It changes what you build. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you stop chasing. Without clarity, almost everything can feel important. With clarity, a lot of noise starts to lose its power. I think a lot of adults need to give themselves permission to think this way. Really think, not just react, not just handle the next thing, not just survive the current season. Most people stay so close to their present constraints that they never stop long enough to ask what they are actually want the future to look like. They think from pressure, they think from responsibility, they think from whatever is immediately in front of them. That keeps life very small. 10-year thinking opens that back up. It gives you room to imagine what matters most without demanding that you know exactly how every piece is going to come together. You do not need the full map, but you do need to know where you are trying to go. I have had to learn this in my own life. A lot of that came through building perception engineering. As you can see from old videos on this channel, I poured a lot into that business. I built it, I carried it, I learned a ton through it. I am grateful for that season, but every time I had to ask a harder question. Not just whether I could keep building it, whether that path was really taking me toward the kind of life that I wanted. That was not a quick realization, and it was not about things falling apart. It was about alignment. It was about being honest enough to admit that some things can be working and still not be the right long-term path. That is a hard thing for ambitious people to admit, because when something is growing, producing, or working on paper, it is easy to assume you should just keep pushing. But sometimes you have to stop and ask whether the path still fits who you are, what you value, and what you want to become. That is part of maturity. And for me, that changed more than in one area. Financial goals started shaping decisions differently. I began thinking more seriously about what I was building towards, what kind of ownership I wanted, what kind of freedom and stewardship looked like for my family long term. Health goals changed habits. They affected my routines, margin, and how I thought about energy. I did not want to build a life where the work was growing, but I was quietly running myself down. Family goals have changed how I thought about time. Not just income, time, presence, capacity. What I wanted life to feel like with Anna. What I wanted my kids to experience from me. What kind of husband and father I wanted to become over the next decade. Even content, storytelling, and this podcast became part of this bigger picture, not because they were random side projects, because they connected to the kind of impact that I wanted to make and the kind of life that I wanted to build. I want to document things that could help other people who are building, leading, and carrying weight. That did not happen by accident. It came from lifting my head up and asking what I wanted all this to become. And I think that is where a lot of people get stuck. They are so close to the day-to-day that they never create enough room to think about the long term honestly. They stay in execution mode, task mode, urgency mode, and over time, life starts getting designed by reaction instead of conviction. That is exhausting, and it is costly, because effort compounds either way. So does direction. If you keep doing what you are doing now for the next 5 years, or even 10 years, where does that path lead you? What kind of person does it shape you into? What kind of husband? What kind of father? What kind of leader? What kind of life? Do not answer that question based on your intentions. Answer it based on your current trajectory. A lot of people love their intentions. They mean well. They care. They want good things. But your future is not built by what you intend once in a while. It is built by what you keep doing, by what your calendar keeps proving matters, by the habits that you keep showing up, by the choices that keep getting repeated. That is why goals matter. They become a filter, they simplify decisions, they expose distractions, and they make certain opportunities easier to decline. They help you stop confusing movement with progress. When you know the destination, daily habits start to make more sense. Some of them clearly support the future that you want. Some of them clearly do not. That kind of clarity is freeing. It gives you permission to stop chasing things that do not belong in your life or that you even actually want. So here's the challenge. Stop for a minute and ask yourself what you want your life to look like in 10 years. Not just your business, but your life. What do you want to be true about your work? What do you want to be true in your marriage? What do you want to be true with your kids? What do you want to be true physically? What do you want to be true financially? What do you want to be true about your time? Then ask this next question. If I keep doing exactly what I'm doing right now, is that where I will end up? That question can change a lot, because if the answer is no, then the issue is not that you need to try harder. It is that something needs to be realigned. That's actually helpful. It means you do not need to panic. You do not need to blow everything up overnight, but you do need to get honest. You need to look at your calendar. You need to look at your habits, your energy, your commitments, your goals. What are you saying yes to? And ask whether they support the future that you want. That is where real change starts. Maybe some habits need to go, maybe some routines need to tighten up, maybe some opportunities need to be declined, maybe some conversations that just need to happen. Maybe some things that look impressive from the outside just need to lose priority. That is the work of alignment, and it takes time, a lot of time, at least from my experience. This has not been one big decision for me. It's been years of making smaller decisions more intentionally, kind of adjusting and reflecting and then refining. Trying to make sure my effort is serving the right direction. Because in the end, I do not think the greatest tragedy for a driven person is failure. I think it is spending years climbing with all your strength only to realize you never intentionally chose the building in front of you. So make sure your ladder is leaning where you actually want to climb. Your discipline will take you upward either way. It is worth making sure that it is taking you somewhere that you actually will be grateful that you've arrived. And if this topic around business, ownership, leadership, growth, family, and building a meaningful life is helpful to you, subscribe to my channel. I also have another video here that I think you might like as well. Click on it, and I will see you on the other side.